Thanks. My name's Pete Herzog. I'm the managing director of ISECOM. ISECOM is how it's spelled. And ISECOM is a nonprofit organization that built up to find resources for special security research projects. Specifically, one of the big ones is the OSTM, the OSSTMM. I know it's a mouthful, but it stands for the Open Source Security Testing Methodology Manual. Now, if I had known back then that it was going to be as big as it became, I probably would have named it something cooler. But at the time, I was just very formal about it and just wanted to publish it. And that was almost 10 years ago. So it was in 2001 that it got published the first time. Version 3 is about to come out. It's going to come out this year. And it's a pretty big manual. I know it's used in many, many places. A lot of places that need security over compliance look to the OSTM to get a security test done right. It includes security metrics, trust metrics, both done factually for operations. And we also really worked on this version to make it readable and usable, not just for the high-end security geeks. So this is something that we really focused on, and it's going to be available for free for everybody. That's why we do it. As I said, it's almost done, and it's going to be available for everyone. In the meanwhile, we also have other projects like Hacker High School, where we teach critical security thinking. Basically, it's a combination of critical thinking skills and resourcefulness. One of the things that we found was that hackers were really, really good at teaching themselves. It was something that kind of kept them ahead of the typical security professional who had to worry about a lot of other things besides just security, whereas hackers were really good at teaching themselves the tricks of hacking. So we took this idea and we said, okay, let's focus on teaching teenagers how to be resourceful like this, how to keep learning on their own, how to be interested in something. And sure, we cover security things, we show them types of hacking things. We even have a network where they can log into and try things out without causing any damage. But mostly it was a way of getting them in one place and teaching them the things that they needed to know in order to become better people and not just better security professionals, people who are interested in things and taught themselves. Another big project that we work with is the Bad People Project, where we ask children between the ages of about, I don't know, 4 and 10, 4 and 11, to submit a picture that they draw of what a bad person looks like. And we collect these pictures and we put them online in a gallery. It's not safe for children. I have to tell you that a lot of pictures that children have submitted are pretty disturbing, even for me, and I do like the occasional horror movie. It makes you wonder the kinds of things that these children have seen and encountered. So the whole idea of this project is to take these pictures, and we want to develop a type of security learning that goes beyond your typical rules, where we can be free of cultural bias. And if we can come up with better rules for kids, because right now the rules that we have to keep kids safe and secure are extremely complicated. There's many of them. They apply to each different situation as we go in. They're hard to remember and they contradict. So for example, don't talk to strangers. And on the other hand, you have Halloween, where you ask the kids to talk to strangers and ask for candy. You have, don't take candy from strangers. You have these rules that kids have to abide to, and they contradict. Again, you also see the don't talk to strangers, and yet when you see often two parents meet on the street, the kid doesn't know who the other adults are, yet when that adult talks to the child, they're expected to answer back. Speak when spoken to sort of thing. Very contradictory. It's also culturally biased, and so we're looking at making this project in order to make better safety and security rules for children, ones that they can remember, they can learn through stories and role-playing and things like that. So that's a project that's also underway. So we try to cover the entire gamut of everything from home to work to professional. Another project we have is the home security methodology. It's more than just a simple checklist, but it is kind of a checklist in order to help people know what to think about when locking up their home, giving them some ideas, and especially dispelling a lot of myths that people have that's still out there. And actually, that was one of the most important things I think we did here at ISECOM, was that we challenged a lot of the best practices that went out there because, well, as you know, security is difficult, okay? It's a hard thing to do. And the problem with security being hard is probably because there's something wrong with how we're doing it. Sure, it could be just complicated. But when we started investigating into it, we found, as we were searching for this elusive security particle or whatever it was that actually made security, we found that a lot of best practices just kind of grew off of what somebody needed and took a path on its own, and really they just didn't work. And the problem is that they might have worked in that instance, but then they didn't scale, or they just became too uneconomical to even grow, in which case then they got reduced, shortened, and basically excuses started to be made about security. Yeah, there's no such thing as perfect security. If a hacker really wants to get in, they'll get in. And we started looking at these things and said, okay, well, what's wrong with it if we need these excuses? What's the problem? I mean, if we're going to have to make excuses for these things and say, oh, there's this enemy that's completely unbeatable and there's nothing we can do about it, and we have to make a process out of it. And so we started investigating and we started dispelling a lot of these myths, analyzing them, looking into why they worked a certain way or didn't. And really, we put a lot of years of research into this, into figuring out how to measure security. And we really had a big breakthrough by looking at security as how to define an attack surface. So once we were able to measure the attack surface of anything, and not just networks, but we found that it worked for everything, then we knew that we could tell you exactly where the holes were, exactly where there was controls missing, exactly where there were too many controls, which I think is kind of funny because one of the things the security industry always pushes is having more security. And really, if you have too many controls, what you have is that you're increasing your attack surface. If you think of it such as putting up walls, the more walls you put up, eventually you put yourself inside a prison. It doesn't work. And it's the same thing. The more controls you put up, the more you increase your attack surface, which means the more things you're putting out there that you can be attacked on. And that was very big in networks and applications, especially security applications, which have their own flaws. And in the last years, a number of attacks have come out against typical types of applications you find in every corporate or home scenario, from antivirus to firewalls. And man, firewalls have been being attacked for years. You know, they're always finding flaws in them or in the management console of them. So this was something we really wanted to focus on and build up. Now, one of the interesting things about what we do, that people find interesting at least, is that it's open. Anybody can join, anybody can help. We don't focus on who's the expert, who's the best, because we think anybody could have a great idea or a new way of thinking about security, because clearly the old way of thinking about security has problems. And so we're looking at improving all the time how we can do this, and anybody can join in. And if you join in, you become part of the team, you work with us, and we're really growing up a large base of professionals, not just professionals, people I should say, that we can call on to review things if we need to. Right now, we're close to about 8,000 people worldwide that can look at things and give us review, and they're voluntary. Now, we're going to take this one step further. As you had mentioned before, I am going to the US for 3 weeks in October. And while I'm there, we are actually getting sponsored and hosted to put on different seminars. If you go to our website, isecom.org, and you go to /seminars, or right off the front page, you can see it. There's a list of seminars that we can put on. We can also tailor them. But these seminars we're looking to make free to the public, which is why we're looking for sponsors for them. And we're going to do a few, well, more than a few already. I think we're almost booked up now. But there's very few space, there's very little space left. And so if anybody is interested in having one of these seminars, you can contact us. But yeah, we want to cover a lot of these things. Like one of them is making sense of security. We're going to teach people how we found this security particle and what it means for you, how you can define an attack surface, how you can greatly improve your security so that you only patch when you want to patch, not for security updates, but for things that you need because you want to enhance an application, for example. Again, also no constant downloads of security updates. You're no longer a slave to that. So these are the kinds of things we want to teach. We also want to teach, we have some things also there for average people, not just security people, security awareness types for children and teens. So this is what we're going to do.